minnows, worms, craws, fuzzy things. There is so much in the bass fishing industry now when it comes to soft plastics. The innovation over time, and especially the past couple of years, is just incredible to really think about. The amount of fun and cool things to throw at bass. The list is endless. So today, let's just take a look at a lot of these soft plastics that are on the market now. So to start breaking down the pile here, let's take a look at what I would argue is one of the most classic baits in all of bass fishing. A straight tail worm. This one here in my hand is a Senko. We also have a more finesse style worm here. Just straight tail worms. This style of worm is something that I grew up with, and I'm assuming a lot of other people can say the same. I got a lot of memories of going to Walmart, and this is what I was grabbing, was a Senko style bait. This bait can be as simple as threading it onto a hook and just throwing it back and pulling it back in. Again, you can throw it weightless, throw these baits on drop shots, shaky heads. There's really a lot of different ways that you can throw a straight tail worm, and that's something that's so cool about it. I can buy a pack of Senkos, I can buy a pack of finesse worms, and again, I can do, I don't know, 5, 7 different things with that one worm. Something that you gotta have in your arsenal is a straight tail worm. And while we're talking about worms, we also gotta talk about curly tail worms. This one here is more of a speed worm style of worm. Pretty popular to fish this through vegetation. I'll put a lightweight on there, even weightless. Reeling it over grass. And then you got the good old mag worm here. Just a good old fashioned curly tail worm. Another one that if you're gonna dig through someone's boat, they're definitely gonna have a pack of these in there, and for good reason. Again, it just catches fish, dragging this on ledges, worming it through grass. The curly tail worms, again, just one of those fish catching machines that you gotta have. So let's go from one classic to another here. Let's talk about craw-style baits. The style of baits, again, it's similar to a worm where they can play in a lot of places. Really nice, again, for filling a tackle box with things where you can do a lot with them, get the most bang for your buck with them, and craws fit right in that category. I can throw this on the back of a jig. I can throw this on the back of a Carolina rig. You can put it on the back of a chatterbait. I mean, the options are truly endless with craws. It's just one of those things where bass across the country too, they eat crayfish, whether they're in the north, in the south. Most places crayfish are present, and a bass is probably gonna chew on these. And because it's such a popular bait, there's so many different options that are out there, and there's a lot of sizes. You can find real small ones for really tiny finesse jigs, all the way up to really big craws for, you know, flipping big mats. Another one that is an absolute classic. Next, let's talk about swim baits. Swim baits are another one of those soft plastics where they really play in all parts of the country, but for different reasons. To not get too deep into it, up north a lot of times swim baits will represent shiners, perch. Down south, obviously a lot of shad, a lot of bluegills. Really kind of depends to your area, but that bait fish profile, again, really matches a lot of forage that is all across the country. And another one of those things where there's all kinds of sizes. Up north here, we've caught giant smallmouth on little 2-inch swim baits, but at the same time, we've caught giant largemouth on 6, 7, 8-inch swim baits. There are a bunch of options out there between more rounded body swim baits like this, flat bodied swim baits. The options are really endless, but again, it's one of those baits that's really versatile. Back of a chatterbait, straight up rigging it on a jig head and just slow crawling it on bottom. Back of a spinnerbait. It has a lot of applications, and again, one of those baits that just gets bit all across the country. And while we're on the topic of baits that mimic bait fish, let's talk about minnows. This is something that has really blown up in the bass fishing industry the past couple years. It's one of those things where love it or hate it, it's here to stay and you gotta be throwing it. It's just such a natural presentation, again, representing shiners, shad. Across the country, it is catching fish, and it's catching giant fish. The cool thing about it is, again, with the innovation that we've seen in the past couple of years, there are tons of options from tiny minnows, big giant minnows, and it's one of those baits that's really straightforward to rig. That's kind of the beauty of it. There's a lot of cool little things that guys are starting to figure out with hover rigs, jig heads, you name it, but in the grand scheme of things, all you need is a jig head to work this bait. Again, just one of those baits that just catches tons of fish. It's definitely a must-have. And moving on from the minnow baits, going to what would probably be considered more of the OG of the minnow bait world, is a soft jerkbait. It's one of those baits that can be super fun to work, especially really bright ones like this. I know up north, the smallmouth, these drive them nuts. We've seen guys like Zona kind of showcase that a little bit. Bright colors, working this really fast above smallmouth. And with the soft jerk baits, again, it's almost like the craws, the Swimbaits. They have a time and place where they make great trailers. Usually when you want something a little bit more subtle, something real streamlined, back of a spinnerbait, back of a chatterbait, that's where it really comes to mind for me. The soft jerk bait is just one of those super versatile baits. So I know I've mentioned how some of these other baits can also work as trailers besides their normal functions. Let's take a look at baits that I would say are more designed specifically to be trailer style baits. And for example here, a bait like this, designed for specifically chatterbaits. Also spinnerbaits is where it comes to mind, where you get those real streamlined baits, but what really makes it specific for being a trailer is, again, a lot of the characteristics that are in it. Really the tail, at least to me, that's what really stands out for trailer specific baits. Really comes down to the thickness of the bait, the profile of the bait, and the tail. All of that has to play in what that bait's gonna do. All the different trailers that are out there, it might seem a little bit monotonous, but all of them have their own thing where it makes that chatterbait really hunt or makes it stay streamlined, goes for the spinnerbait, all across the board. So that's something to keep in mind when looking for trailers for, again, chatterbaits. Spinnerbaits, let's talk about trailers too for buzzbaits, maybe flipping a jig. Specifically here in my hand, this is a chunk style bait. Again, this is pretty popular to be used on the back of a jig. We also have a toad here. Again, you can rig this weightless, but a lot of times you see guys throwing these on the backs of buzz baits. But again, although these are designed specifically to be more of a trailer, that's the awesome thing about bass fishing and the bass fishing community. Guys find ways to be creative with stuff and not get pigeonholed into certain things. So that's just something to keep in mind. So next, let's look at another one of those baits that, again, has been around forever. The good old-fashioned tube. I like rigging these with your typical tube style heads or a football jig style head, just sliding it into the tube and dragging it on bottom. The stupid tube jig head, that's another great way to work these. That's weedless, kind of lets you really put this bait in places that you normally wouldn't put one. And also flipping style tubes. They make bigger tubes, have a little bit thicker heads, thicker bodies, so that way you can flip them. It's another one of those kind of forgotten about flipping baits, is the good old flipping tube. So again, this is another one of those baits for me where I grew up fishing this thing. Tube's got a special place in my heart for sure. I've caught tons of smallmouth, largemouth on these things. Tubes are awesome baits to have in the boat. And while we're talking about baits that have been around for a long time, let's talk about lizards and creature style baits. I almost kind of put these two in the same category because you can fish them very similarly, yet they definitely both have their own characteristics that kind of set them apart. A lizard, super popular on a Carolina rig and a Texas rig. That's definitely what comes to mind for me right away when it comes to fishing a lizard. Really like throwing this on a Texas rig, pegged or unpegged even. That's something that catches a ton of fish up here in the north in the grass. But again, dragging this on a Carolina rig over a rock, over a ledge, it gets bit. It's one of those baits that is awesome. And another one that's kind of forgotten about. It's kind of getting left behind a little bit. Same with the creature style baits, your brush hog style baits. Again, these play in a lot of scenarios, flipping them, dragging them. Both of these baits, super versatile, and they catch the snot out of bass. And the last in the OG category, we got the good old curly tail grub. This is a bait that kind of got forgot about. Hank Cherry kind of put us back on the map with it. And again, another one of those baits where we grew up fishing this thing, right? Catching bass from the bank on it, catching bluegills on smaller versions of these. It just catches fish. Another one of those baits where there's just no other way around it. It just gets bit. And it's a super simple bait. Rig it on a jig head, rig it weightless. You can do some other things with it, popping it, kind of pulling it, stroking it. But one of those baits where you can cast and reel and catch a bunch of fish. And next, here's another bait where, again, you don't have to do much when fishing it, but it just catches fish. Ned style plastics. As you can see here, pretty compact, pretty small. Again, largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, wherever you are, fishing the bank, out in a boat, it doesn't matter. The Ned rig just plain old works. Another one of those baits where you rig it on a Ned head. That bait is just gonna hop along bottom. One like this here, the TRD, this is one of the classics in this category of baits. just gonna stand up on bottom, and as you pull it along, it's just gonna drive fish nuts. There's just something to it. Super easy to rig, super easy to work. Some other ways to rig this too. It's also really popular to fish these on a drop shot. Again, that bait is really buoyant, just kind of gets in their face and drives them nuts. Also too, the old way of fishing this is straight reeling it. Just reeling it like a swim bait. There's definitely a couple other things that you can do with this bait, but again, just rigging it on a jig head when it comes to just getting started with this thing is really tough to beat. So last, but certainly not least, the alien bait, the fuzzy baits. This is something that, again, like we mentioned, the innovation in the fishing industry, something that has blown up the past couple of years. And the amount of money that has gotten won on fuzzy baits like this it's pretty ridiculous when you think about it at the end of the day. And it's another one of those baits where it's slowly becoming the Senko, the swim bait, things that you have to have. And one of the things that's really fun about the fuzzy baits is, again, it kind of plays into how I almost view it as being like a kid again, trying to learn these new things where you see guys winning tournaments on it. I want to catch them like that too. And there's so many different ways that you can rig all these baits. And there's so many little nuances with all of them. It's really fun to explore new ways to rig things, different weights on things, just trying stuff that's just weird. Plain and simple, it's just weird. That's how a lot of this stuff got found, you know, at some point. Who would have ever thought that throwing this in the water was gonna catch a bass, right? And it's one of the staples. As far as rigging these baits, you see a lot of guys doing the nail weight system, where it's just a simple nail weight inside of there, and then just a simple single hook going through the bait, as well as drop shotting these baits. Free rigging these baits. There's a lot of different cool but also traditional ways to work these baits, and all of them get bit. From fuzzy baits to straight tail worms, there's a lot of options out there, but there is a rundown on a lot of today's styles of soft plastics.